And also at the end of this, he says, there is nothing except his face. And since this is a Muslim who is saying this, that's exactly what the Quran testifies to. One of the surahs say, everywhere I turn is the face of God. Everything is God. The Quran testifies of this. It is as if a person does not know something, then comes to know it. Their existence does not disappear, but their ignorance disappears. Their existence remains as it was, without being exchanged for another, and without the existence of the ignorant person being added to or mixed with the knowing person. Ignorance simply disappears. And that's how so-called awakening is, because it's anybody who has awoken to their true nature always tells the same story. It has always been here. And it's not like you transform into something new. What happens is you have a new way of seeing. You no longer see through the eyes of these flesh, but through the eye of the light that lights up all things. And so you see the nature of all things. You see what they arise in and what they die into. Do not think, therefore, that you need to pass away, because if it were necessary to pass away, that would mean that you are his veil. He would therefore be veiled by something other than himself. This would require something other than him having power over him, preventing him from being seen. That is an error and misconception. As we have already said, his veil is nothing other than his oneness, his singularity. That is why the person who has reached the essential truth is always allowed to say, I am the truth. Glory to me. No one has truly reached God unless they see their attributes to be the attributes of God, and their essence to be the essence of God, without their essence or their attributes ever entering into God or coming out of him. And this is a true statement, and this is especially for the Christian brothers, but many Muslims have said this and been crucified in the early centuries of the or should we say AD, in the early centuries AD. Many Muslims have went around and said, I'm the truth, and had been persecuted and put to death. Jesus said he was the truth, the way and the light. He was put to death because during those times, that would be blasphemy to even compare yourself to God. Because those who have not seen it see God as a being, see God as a being off in the distance, and you are less than him. And we always look at the outward appearance. Well, the flesh comes and goes, so of course you cannot be God, because the scriptures say God is everlasting. But those who see that everlasting, eternal in themselves, they're not speaking of the flesh, although the flesh is verily God. All things are God. But when the scriptures speak to the source of all things, they're talking about that eternal. And without their passing away in relation to God or remaining in God, they see their self has never been their own. Not that it was and then it passed away. I mean, and that's the truth. You see that none of this was ever yours. It's not that you're living a life. It's that life is all there is. And that body you took yourself to be is just a movement of this life. This is because there is no self except his self, and there is no being except his being. And this is one of the major hang-ups that we have, is that we think we are a self, and he is a self somewhere else. And there are many beings, but there is only one being. He says there is no self except his self. See, the mind tells us we have a life, my brother has a life, my mother has a life, but they all play on a background of what we call God. The knowing element of all things is God. And the objects of knowing is God. And the action of knowing is God. There are no other beings. Mind comes in and makes up a story that you are a separate being and God is a separate being. But your very life is God. An example is when you have a dream, right? And say you are somewhere in a foreign land and you're doing things that you think you are the doer of. But everything in the dream, let's say in the dream you see houses, you see people, you see trees. When you awaken from this dream, you realize that dream actually it wasn't an experience, but it wasn't real. And you realize that every person, every tree was made of the same substance, which was just mind, your mind. Every character was made of your mind. Every tree wasn't matter, although it seemed like matter, but it was made of mind stuff. And it's the same when one awakens in the awake state or the state of living. You see that it is all an illusion, although the experience is real. They are all made of the same stuff. There's no such thing as matter. There's no such thing as you. It's all made of God, and it is all God. So there is no other beings. Just like in your dream, there is no other beings, although it appears to be other beings. In life, there is no other beings, although it appears to be other beings. It appears to be matter. But they're all made of the same thing, which is awareness or knowing. This is what the prophet was alluding to when he said, "Do not curse time, because God is time and distance and closeness. And God, who is blessed and exalted, is unblemished by any associate or equal or like." It is also reported that the prophet said, "The high God says, O child of Adam, I was sick, you did not visit me. I was hungry, and you did not feed me. I asked of you, and you did not give to me." And this is funny because just yesterday I was talking to a Christian brother and explaining to him, the oneness of all things. And I read that verse that Christ said, that he said, as you do unto these little ones, you also do unto me. These are pointers to the essence of all things are one. Even the golden rule, do unto others as you do unto yourself, is showing you that until you realize that others are yourself, treat them as so. That's what it's pointing to. The being of everyone who asks is his being. When that is accepted, it is also accepted that your being is his being, and the being of all created things is his being. When the secret of the smallest is discovered, the secret of all created things is made clear, whether apparent or hidden. That means whether seen or unseen. When that is truly accepted, you will not see the two worlds as other than God, meaning the invisible world of thoughts and things of that nature, and the outer things of objective material. Without the two worlds and their names and what they name existing, or rather, their names and what they name and their existence are Him, without any doubt. Do not see God as having ever created anything, but rather as being in every moment a different configuration that sometimes seems to reveal Him and sometimes seems to conceal Him, without any conditions, because He is the first and the last, the apparent and the hidden, and He is knowledge of everything.